So I wanted to show an interesting little reply here on the MX Simulator forums from Jeremy Cohenhauer, basically the main dude in RF right now, okay? So he's talking about, how the corners have been real smoothed off, rolled off, all that crap, okay? He says, biggest problem with shaping the berm, like how you mentioned, talking to the guy up top that's talking about how rolled off they are, he says, it will have so much hook in it, you'll be able to go way faster through them. For a few years now, we've had problems with trying to make it so you don't quad in everywhere. RF, why are you acting like this is the first time you guys have ever made tracks? Like, what the hell? You had just fine tracks back in 2014, 15, and 17. Where you couldn't quad in, but the corners weren't complete shit. You've already had that before. I don't know what you're even saying here where you say you've had this problem trying to make it to where you can't quad in. You couldn't quad into shit all the way back in 2017. But and the corners still weren't shit back then. So why is it now that you have these smoothed off, rolled off, shitty ass corners? What it is you're making excuses. That's all it is. You're reaching and you're pulling for an excuse somewhere, so you're going to try to say, oh, we just want to make it to where you can't quad in, so that's why we're making the corners like this. RF, this is not your first go-around, dog. You've been doing this shit since, what, 2010, 2011? I mean, damn. Like, and that's my whole point. It's not like, oh shit, well back in 2017, you could just quad in everywhere. That's why the corners were like that. So now they have to smooth them so you can't quad. You couldn't even quad in back then. You literally couldn't even do it back then. But the corners felt just fine back then. See my whole entire point here, Jeremy and RF? You're not making any sense. You're literally not making any sense at all. And just to prove my whole entire point a little further here, this is round 2, okay? It's round 2 RF track. You guys know this section where you come out of the whoops, you hit this corner, and you jump on this tabletop right here, okay? It's a triple in on a tabletop, all right? So no matter how hard you hit this corner in MX Simulator, the way they had this smoothed off, cramped down, small scaling, rolled off corner, there is literally no physical way that you could ever get the momentum or speed to be able to jump this any more than this triple in. AKA, Jeremy saying, we got to build the corners to make it to where you can't quad in. Well, this was interesting to me, Jeremy, because if you go back and look at this actual race in real life, just go back and look at it. Round 2, 450 class, main event. Ken Roczen literally quadded in all the way over this table, damn near every single lap of the main event. I'm talking at the very end when it was gnarly as shit, or however you want to claim the end of a main event to be. He was jumping this jump, jumping plumb over this tabletop, which is technically a quad, and landing right there. That's what Ken Roczen, Eli Tomac, a bunch of them dudes were doing in the 450 main event. But with these dudes in RF trying so hard to build the track to where you can't quad in, oh my god, oh shit, we don't ever want you to quad anything, now you can't even hit the standard ass lines that they're hitting in real life. You can't even hit the standard quads that they're hitting in real life anymore. My entire point, bro. My entire point. And you got RF, you're getting way too trying to restrict everything, trying to restrict quadding, trying to restrict. You can't even hit the damn standard big lines on the track that they're hitting in real life, bro. Like, damn. You need to start realizing that. And heaven forbid we hit one quad that they didn't hit in real life on one track at one round. Heaven forbid. It's not the end of the world. That's what I'm saying. And it's really not that hard to make a track to where you can't quad in somewhere. I promise you the worst way to do it is to go in here and completely roll and smooth off your corners to where they don't even feel like corners anymore. That's the worst way to do it if you don't want us to be quadding in somewhere. What you should be doing is either adjusting the traction or adjusting the way the jump faces are, or, maybe not have fucking arena cross scaling where you've got 7 jumps in a 10-foot long period of the track. Like, maybe that would help a little bit, you know? Maybe make it more like true normal MX Simulator scaling, and people won't be able to quad in because the jumps will actually have more than 1 centimeter in between them. Do you ever think about that, RF, huh? Come on now. Okay, so this is actually a review of Round 4 Glendale, but I just had to explain that whole situation because that annoys the living shit out of me when RF starts grabbing for these excuses on why they're making such shitty tracks, and there is no excuse for it. You've already made decent tracks that you can't quad into back in 17, bro. Like, I mean, shit, you've already done it. Like, it's just so pointless what they're even saying, but anyways... Okay, so basically round 4, they kind of, it seems like they might have narrowed the corner scaling just a little bit, which I think was okay. I think they got a little out of hand on round 3. They made the corner entry width like super wide, and therefore you had all those weird-ass everybody passing everybody in every corner type shit at round 3. So I think they got that kind of scaling a little more tuned in to where it needs to be here for round 4. What the hell is going on with this sand section? I swear to you boys, I do not have the Play-Doh fucking version of the track. I promise. I know it looks like there's not even decals here. Literally looks like you just have a base fucking terrain with no decal. But I promise you, I have the high version of this track right here. What is this sand section, RF? What the fuck is this? Like, literally, what is this, dog? Round 4 of a paid series... and the sand section literally looks like ice cream. What the hell is this? Somebody explain this to me, please, for the love of Christ. I can't... there is no texture to the dirt at all. Literally none. This looks like one of my custom tracks whenever I go in there and delete some of the decals on my sand section. There's no decal on it. That's what this looks like right here. Oh, what the hell is that? But either way, let's move on. Okay, so... here's a prime example of 2 corners that have absolutely no jump after them at all. 2 completely flat corners, right? So there would literally be no potential for you to quad in anything through either one of these corners. But do they bank the corners up more like they should? Do they give you more of a banking in the corner? Not really. Not really. So this whole, oh, we don't want you to quad in. Well, how do you explain this then? 2 corners where there's no jumps, and you still have these rolled off, smoothed off ass, fucking fall over in the corner for no reason type berms. They're not berms, they're flat sections. But either way. So, I feel like the rhythms are okay on this track. The overall, like, jump scaling is okay. I like this little triple out of this corner. A little skill gap, you gotta be on the gas. Really like how they added a little, like a little knuckle jump thing up the inside of this first rhythm. I don't know if you can see this on YouTube very good, but it's a little bitty, like, little knuckle jump thing right there. A little knuckle roller right before that first jump, so you can't just hit that first jump with maximum speed. I really think they should have had this on, I don't know, I think it was round 1 maybe? No, it was round 2. Round 2 on that first big rhythm section, that's the way it looked like in real life, that it had this little knuckle on it, but they didn't have that on the MX Simulator round 2. So, cool to see that there is a knuckle on this track. Makes that first rhythm a little more skill gappy. You got to think just a little bit more, but you can see they're doing everything they can to not allow you to quad here. You do the triple in, I'll back this up a little bit, kind of roll over that knuckle, bounce into this, triple in, and then if you were to quad this, they made that last quad jump landing so tall that you're just not going to be able to do it. Like, it's not feasible really at all. Listen, RF, your problem is your scaling, okay? It doesn't feel too bad, but, like, your jumps are so close together and everything's so cramped down. That's why it feels like, oh my God, you can just quad everywhere. That's why you're starting to get that sort of feeling. Like, if you go back to 17 Indianapolis and some of those other tracks, the scaling is built to the point to where you're not going to be able to quad a lot of the sections just simply because the jumps are actually a decent distance apart to where you wouldn't be able to do it anyways. But when you start going down this 2016 weird small jump scaling, yeah, you're going to be able to quad in and quad shit because the jumps aren't that far apart. That's the whole point. You don't need to try to smooth out the berms and sacrifice your corners to try to prevent somebody from quadding in on this 1 centimeter spaced apart jump scaling. You see what I'm saying? That's my precise point about how everything affects everything. But overall, this track I feel like was probably the best one they've had thus far, just in a nutshell of it, which is not saying a whole lot, because it's just been the absolute most trash I've ever seen in the first 2-3 rounds. Definitely the first 2. The third one wasn't quite as bad, but they've kind of like toned down the scaling a little bit here again. It's kind of weird. But I don't know, man. They're going to have to figure it out. I don't know. It feels like we're kind of starting all over again. Like they've never even made an RF track in their life, and they're having to totally restart, start over, figure out what they're doing from the ground up again, which is pitiful that we're doing this in 2020. RF, absolutely pitiful. Like, I don't know if this is from getting a new track maker. I don't know where this is coming from, but it literally feels like a beta test, like you're starting from absolutely like somebody that has never made a track in their life and trying to start designing RF tracks. That's what it feels like. So, either way, I do like this dirt decal better here than I have some of your previous. This one has a little more texture to it than the full-blown Play-Doh, minus that bullshit-ass sand section over there, but the whoops don't feel too bad on this track. They're starting to get that a little bit better. Corners still feel pretty shitty to me. They might be 5% better than the previous tracks, maybe. They feel a little bit better, maybe, but I don't know. It's so hard to explain the way the corners are because, like, if you look at this corner, it looks like a decent bank. It looks like the corner height is at a pretty decent embankment, which it is. You know, I'm not saying you really need to make the corners much taller. It's how, like, fucking weird smooth you have the bottom, like, where the actual start of the berm is, how smooth all that is right there. Because, like, if you go back to some of the 17 and some of the previous tracks and look at the corners aren't really much taller than these. So why do they feel so much better on those older tracks? It's because they don't have this weird bullshit super smooth effect to the berm. The berm has more of a, it's more cut in to the berm. You know what I mean? You don't come up to the corner and feel like you're hitting the side of a jump face or some bullshit. You actually feel like you're hitting a berm. This is something else right here. I don't even know what this is. They have just smoothed it so much. Let me see if I can do a little number on this right quick. We're in this corner, first corner. See if I can just do a little something here. Little, something like this. Something like this. See what I can do. Okay. Let's get this. Alright. Yeah. Let's get this. Alright. This might look like shit. I don't know. A little bit. Smooth that. Okay. So now let's see where we're at. Okay. You see how this is a little bit more like you can actually get into the berm when it's like this. Okay, I went in there and lowered it a little bit right on the berm. You know, that's more like what I would think it would be like. And of course it looks a little weird because it's actually lowered from the rest of the track. I don't literally do it like this, but you would have to integrate it more into the way you build it, but that's basically what I'm getting at. Like, it's not about making the corner too much taller. It's just about cutting deeper into the berm versus just having that rolled smooth berm. You understand? That's really, I feel, their biggest problem right now at the corners. They've just got them so rolled that if it feels like you know, if you don't have any road on it and you're just going into that corner fast, it's all you can do to turn in the corner without losing your front end. Without your front end doing that weird-ass jackknife fucking bullshit, right? It's all you can do to get it not to do that. So, but either way. Is this track better? Yeah. I might give it maybe 1 point over their previous one, but I think they got their jumps just maybe a little bit too close together scaling on this one. Need them just a little further apart, right? I don't see what the issue would have been with allowing this quad right here. They made it to the point to where if you land right here and try to jump this quad into this corner, they got this last jump just a little too far out there. You just can't really do it very consistently. You might be able to do it once, but it's like this jump right here. They've got it literally shorter than the next 2 jumps in front of it, so you can't even remotely get the proper amount of lift off to even think about quadding into this corner. Whereas like in 2017, you would have been able to quad that right there into that corner, adding a whole nother level of skill gap to the track. You know, it's like you're trying too hard not to let us hit a big line. You're literally like forcing it so hard that now you're running into these moments where they're hitting bigger lines in real life than what you can even hit in MX Simulator. AKA round 2, where Tomac and all them boys was quadding over that tabletop, quadding in out of that corner after the whoops, and you couldn't even remotely do that on MX Simulator. So please, for the love of God, RF, stop trying to restrict big lines so much. That's what made the game so fun. Obviously, there's a balance to it, okay? I'm not saying, you know, just, holy shit, make a quad 5.7 jump everywhere. That's not... Some of you idiots are going to take it that way because you got to blow it out of proportion. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying you are way too far on the scale and spectrum of limiting the big jumps that we're hitting and trying to do. You're sacrificing every part of the track to force us to never hit a quad. So it's making the entire track worse because of it. So please, for the love of God, stop doing that so hardcore. Fix these damn corners. Making them too smooth, dog. Just too smooth. You got them tall enough, just a little too smooth. Dig that shit into that corner a little more so we can really get into the corner. Right? Like, even if you did that on these corners, even if you just did it on some of these corners where there is no jumps, right? Like this one, bank that up a little bit. Bank that other corner up a little bit. Like, not bank it, but cut into it a little more, right? Cut into this one right here a little more because it has no jumps after it. You could have done that in half or more of these corners, and we still wouldn't have been able to hit a quad line. So it's not making a whole lot of sense you saying, well, we do that with the corners so you can't hit the quad ends, you can't quad into the rhythms. Well, how do you explain the 7 other corners on this track where there are no jumps after them? And you still got the damn corners smoothed off and rolled off. You're not making any sense, RF. I mean... For the love of God, you could just have one corner like that before a potential quad end section if you wanted to do that, but have everywhere else where it's not like that. Have an actual real corner right here before the whoops, and have a real corner over here before a flat start straight section. Like, shit. I mean, what would be the problem with that? But either way, man. Yeah, it looks like I'm not going to be racing for the next... probably 2, 3, 4 rounds. They're still just not really getting it. They're just not really getting it. Whoops are a little better. Just, I don't know, man. Certain aspects they're just going to have to really improve on. But either way, appreciate you guys watching all the videos. Later, dudes.